The Disrupt Education vlog can be found on YouTube. To hear it in podcast form, search Disrupt Education on any of the following podcast platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or Stitcher. Welcome to this episode of Disrupt Education. I have an amazing guest today, the co-founder of Guide, the lead guide at Alpha, a 2 times TEDx speaker and an educator, Mike Yates. Welcome to Disrupt Education.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about all those things I just listed. Tell us a little bit about Guide, the lead guide at Alpha. What is all this stuff? Because I know what it is, the audience doesn't know, and I think they need to know.
Right. Yeah, so Guide is a life skills training app for high school students and beyond, really. So a couple of friends of mine got together, and we had only met on LinkedIn for like the first 3 or 4 months. We had not been in the same room, and we got to work designing this solution to teach people life skills through an app. So seeing an app like TikTok or what used to be Musical.ly, and the way it caught on with teenagers at that age, we thought, well, we could use this to create a learning platform as like the starting place. So using video as a starting place and then evolving and adapting over time, but really as a way to deliver micro learning experiences to high school students. So the app is going to hit the App Store in the next few weeks. It is going to be completely free. So tell all the high schoolers you know to get on there. You should get on there yourself. Everybody get on there. And so that's Guide. Alpha is a school that I work at here in Austin, and we are trying to change a lot of narratives about education at Alpha. Our school looks like a co-working space. We have no classrooms, technically no teachers. We use adaptive learning software in place of direct instruction. So, where there's traditionally a math class, our kids have a math app. Every kid's in a different place. They work at their own pace, all of that. And what we find is that the adaptive apps speed up the academic learning process. Kids only spend 2 hours a day on academics. The rest of the day is life skills, personal interest projects, field trips, all kind of crazy stuff. And so I lead a team here at Alpha. I lead our middle school level.
That's fantastic. I think I'm just reading Mark Issik's book on technology, and he was just on the last podcast, and he talks just about that. Like we're turning teachers into kind of motivators and team leaders and those types of things. Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are. What was your educational background like? What was your journey like to here becoming in the education realm, kind of such in a great innovative way?
Yeah, I think it was just a long process of frustration. When I was about 16, 17 years old, I was having an argument with a math teacher about why I had to show my work. And I couldn't see why it was important that I showed my work to questions that I already know the answer to, or that could easily be answered with a calculator. Because in my mind, that type of advanced math, I think I was in like Algebra 2, I didn't see a connection and a reason for me to use that in my adult life. And the answer that my teacher gave me was, Michael, you won't always have a calculator with you when you grow up, which I'm sure many of you have heard before. And so that was September of 2007. The iPhone came out in June of 2007. The guy sitting next to me leans over, pulls out his brand new iPhone, opens his calculator app, and he's like, "You mean like this one, miss?" And that was the day that it just affirmed all the skepticism that I had about school. And I realized this lady is preparing me for the world that she lives in, not the one I'm going to live in. And so I sort of approached school with this very contrarian mindset from then on. And I tried to figure out at a very young age, what can I break? What can I take apart? How do I fix this thing? And I became fixated on this idea of changing education. I started formally working in education when I was 19. I was building education programs for the United Way, trying to figure out how I could work outside of the system to change it. And I realized I had to go into it. Yeah. So I became a teacher, and I was very frustrated as a teacher with all of the restraint that I dealt with in the public school in private schools and charter schools. And so I started searching for resources to start my own school. And that journey led me to Alpha, where I was like, these people are already doing what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined up with Alpha, which is, now really like we're like a year and a half, 2 years into our current phase,
Mm-hmm.
which is like our operation at full scale. So super happy to be here, but it's really just a process of frustration and me trying to like figure out problems and pull the system apart.
So I have to ask, going in to become a teacher, was that a traditional path? Did you have to go into a collegiate realm there to get that certification, or how was that path, and was that frustration if it happened?
So no, I actually I kind of had my arm twisted a little bit going into teaching. I had a friend of mine come visit my wife and I, and she was like, "Hey, you should consider teaching." I have a background in speech and debate. I did competitive speech and debate in high school and college.
Nice.
And she worked at a school that needed a speech coach to
Mm-hmm.
rebuild their speech program. So she says, "Hey, like this position's open. You should go for it." I thought, I'm not interested in teaching. So I sent the most like, I sent this email where I was trying to get them to turn me away.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I put something like, "I will only come to your school if you have this opening, and if these are the hours, and if it pays this much." And I thought, surely they're going to be like, "This guy's crazy." But the email reply that I got back was like, "That's exactly what we need. We need those exact hours." It's like, oh, okay, well, this must mean something. So I ended up at this very small private school in Austin. It was a classical school.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that I loved working with kids.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that while their method was not my preference, it was different than everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to really dive into different models of school once I learned about the classical model. And so that's kind of, I didn't see it as a traditional route.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that if I wanted to make a large impact, I needed to know what it felt like to essentially suffer in public school.
Yeah.
So I left that school, and I was not certified. I just had my college degree. I did not go through the education route in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the alternative certification program.
Yeah.
I applied for Teach for America,
Mm-hmm.
but I did not get in because I already had teaching experience. But I found this, what actually is an amazing teaching organization, the New Teacher Project.
Mm-hmm.
And while I have left a lot of what I learned there behind purposefully, what they did was they gave me a framework and a structure to make my base so that I could innovate and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was certified through them, and then I just broke rules and flooded hallways and did all kinds of crazy stuff.
That is disrupt education. That's what we're talking about here. So I'm interested in a few things. I want to know, so 2 hours ish on academia, kind of doing that. What are the skill sets? Tell us a little bit about the skill sets that Alpha is doing, and what does that look like? Because I think that's where we're all going. Knowledge is, I'm a Jack Ma dude, knowledge can be found everywhere. What are the skill sets that you all are taking a look at with youth?
Yes, what's interesting about what we're doing here is that kids, like you find that like nobody really knows what life skills actually are. If you ask people like what life skills are important, everybody's going to give you a different one.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's interesting with Alpha is that what we have found is that everybody's claiming that they teach life skills is like a byproduct of their program.
Mm.
But we've isolated skills that we think are important and that other people haven't figured out how to teach, things like grit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, the academics don't teach the life skill. We isolate the life skill and teach it on its own.
Mm.
The academic time, that 2 hours that they're in the apps, like you're supposed to be learning math,
Right?
right? Like, and I'm sure like obviously like there's byproducts like being on time, right? Like multitasking, whatever, switching from task to task. But like if you want to teach grit, hand a kid an ice cube and make them hold it in their hand until it melts. Right, like you want to see how competitive a kid is. Put him in an elevator with his friend,
Mm-hmm.
and tell him the first person that touched the button loses. Right, like those are the things that we've sort of like learned to pull apart.
Mm.
And the thing that I've learned from being here is to oversimplify, like purposely oversimplify things that you want to teach.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times in education, we give kids too much at once.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to teach them public speaking, but also time management and also teamwork. We'll just isolate one of those.
Yeah.
Teach them that, let them master that skill, then move on.
Mm-hmm.
And once you know that you have a group of kids that have mastered several skills, stack them on top of each other.
Mm.
So we really are just like primarily searching for things that kids can't get anywhere else right now. Because being different is the biggest differentiator for us.
Is that a badging system? How do you know a kid has mastered something? That's something that I think is always argued in education.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have a great answer for it. We have what we do and what we think we know is that we created for each life skills workshop or project that we have. We've created a test to pass, and that test to pass normally involves like a third party validation.
Mm-hmm.
So typically like at a traditional schools, kids get these like oh, this kid's the best math student in the school, but it's only the math department. Which means like it's all internal. Like, nobody knows how good the kid really is. But if we teach a kid public speaking, and then we say, okay, we're going to bring the best speech team, the best college speech team in the country, they're going to come tell you how good they think you are. Now it's not like, oh, Mike is my speech teacher and he said I'm really good. It's Mike said I'm good, and these people who I've never met before came and watched me. They have a ton of experience. They say I'm good. We think that's a good way to measure when kids have mastered things. And the other thing is, like, if kids can use it, right? Like, if they can teach, if you can watch them use the skill, then I think that's a good indicator that they've mastered it.
What's the vision of a student walking out of Alpha having? Traditionally, it's a piece of paper, maybe an SAT score, possibly maybe a portfolio. I don't know. What does it look like walking out of that school, the school that you work in?
I think that's one of the most fun parts is that we haven't figured it out yet. We don't know. The greatest thing about Alpha is that it is an experiment. That's why a lot of people ask, like, why are you guys not advertising? We're not advertising because we have questions.
Yeah,
and we're pretty comfortable saying that we're answering those questions through trial and error. But if I were to give like a measurement, we want to empower kids to go live an incredible life. Whether that means they go to college or not, we want them to live that incredible life. That means for us, we need to equip students with the skills and the academic achievement levels enough so that they could get into any university that they want to. Because in my opinion, incredible life means you have options.
Right.
So we set our sights on top 20 universities. We want students to be able to market themselves to those universities, tell compelling stories about the things that they've been up to while they're in school, so that you can, like, I would like for our students to be in a position to say, no, I don't want to go to Yale. I want to go to Stanford. Or I would like them to say, no, don't want to go to Stanford. I want to go to Texas State University because they have this specific program. Or no, I don't want to go to college. I want to start my own business. I would hope that kids have options when they leave.
Right. And, don't forget, like, Lambda School and our buddy Austin Allred. I think we're right. I had to give him a shout out there because I just love the innovation in education and how you are designing this. And frankly, I mean, it's refreshing to hear, like, we don't know the answers. I think in education, too many people think they have the one silver bullet or whatnot. What do you think then? I was going to ask you then, in the college or the entrepreneurship realm, where are most of your students? Are they what are your, let me erase all that. What are your thoughts on post-secondary education options? Traditionally college, what do you think is going to happen or is happening in the next realm after, say, a K through 12 traditional or non-traditional like your system?
So I think that the existing system, the existing college system, suffers from some of the same ills that the K through 12 system does, in that it is still the end. Like, it is still the end of the assembly line. It's the end of the traditional school assembly line. Like, I go to kindergarten, middle school, high school, college. Hopefully, I get a great job after college. It doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. There's a group of parents at Alpha, and there's a lot of people that think that I am down on kids going to college.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that college is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
My younger brother is a college student right now, and I truly believe that he should have never set foot in college, and he should have gone to start his own business. I mean, the kid is a purebred entrepreneur, and he's wasting his time while he's in college. So I think people need to be honest with themselves before they join that system, because the truth is that there are more compelling options. Like you just talked about Lambda School.
Right.
I mean, like I know, like it's like the popular thing to rag on WeWork right now.
Yeah, right.
Like what Flatiron School is doing is amazing,
and
I don't know what their relationship is going to be with WeWork going forward, but Flatiron School, Lambda School, there's tons of coding boot camps. If I'm interested in computer science in the 9th grade, there is no reason for me at this point in history to go be a part of a 4-year computer science program unless I know that there is somebody that's going to secure me a position from that program.
Right.
I could not imagine if I had an 18-year-old child looking at that child and saying, go to the University of Texas to learn computer science. I'm telling him, you call Austin Allred, you tweet him right now because he'll respond, and you go to Lambda School. Right? Like I believe that Lambda School has laid the framework for what post-secondary education could and should be.
Right.
I think Google should have their own university. I think Apple should have I think Nike should have their own university. I think Whataburger, which they actually do, I think Whataburger should have their own university where they are focused on training the people that they want. Because I mean, like everybody knows, the most valuable training you'll get is on the job.
Right.
There's a gap between your college diploma and the skills you need in your job. The companies already recognize that.
Right.
So I think that there's kids that joke at our school. Like, we're gonna have so at our school we don't have traditional grade levels. We have a learning lab, a level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Level 4 is high school. The kids are like, well, we're gonna have a level 5 soon. It's gonna be college.
Right.
I wouldn't complain about that. I would love that. I mean, like, I think that if the purpose of college is to get you a career, then the companies themselves should just create their own learning programs.
I feel, I've already saw as soon as, I can't remember. Was it Adam, the guy who went to WeWork, started? Yeah. So when he left, right after that 9-month business analytics, that Harvard came out with one right after that. I don't know if you saw that. So I feel like the Ivies, the big schools, with huge endowments, they're going to go ahead and be the ones. And then we're already seeing the smaller ones, I think, start to collapse. And I'm just like you. A lot of people will say, are you a college hater? No, I'm not at all. But I think, with technology and all the different things that are going on, Holbert and Lambda, Praxis, all these different things, our students are having more and more options. How do you help navigate that student? What are some of the essential questions that you ask an alpha student going on to the next level? What would you, or are you, experimenting with in that realm?
So right now it's all about personal interest. We very much so desire to create pathways for kids based on their personal interest. So, for example, right now we have a student that's in our level 4 program or our high school who's really into AI and the VR, AR. And so I ask him questions, not about the next level, not about college, but to gauge his interest in that.
Right.
So I will, every time I see him, I'm like, hey, what do you think about AI ethics? Like, what do you think about Watson and the people that designed it? I'm reading a book right now called Race After Technology. And I started reading it over the winter break. And I'm going to bring it and talk to him about this book because I would rather him be so in love with that interest, that subject, that choosing a university, if he chooses to do that, becomes really easy for him, because now he's like, my options are the ones that cover the thing that I love. So for him, it'll probably be like MIT or like whatever, Johns Hopkins, whatever. But hopefully we've designed a program that gives him every shot to get into those programs with a strong interest, knowing what he wants to do. We will, I imagine, place a higher emphasis on AP. Quite frankly, to have students, and we have students that have enough college credits, they can leave here. And it's not really about saving money. It's about getting them to the things that they love. You don't have to take basic courses. You're right into your passion coursework.
Right. Okay, 2 times TEDx speaker. Tell us a little bit about those speaking engagements. What were the topics, and where can people find those? Because I know they're out there.
Yeah. So the second one actually hasn't happened yet. It's happening
Okay.
on the 18th.
Awesome.
That one I'm very, very excited about because it's actually a lot of what we're talking about. The my newest one that will be happening at TEDx South Congress is the theme of that night is it's about time, and I am giving a talk entitled "It is about time we think differently about school."
Mm.
Simply because the farther I immerse myself in this world of education change and reform, I find that I'm still having conversations with people who, one, don't know there are other options, and two, dogmatically support the options that we know are not as good.
Yeah.
I think everybody in America kind of like they really know or they have some suspicion that the school system's not working out, but they just don't believe the other options work. I mean, I listened to a lady in the grocery store talking very loudly on her cell phone about how she would never send her kid to one of those crazy Montessori schools. And at one point she said, "No, I haven't set foot in one of those places because all those people are crazy." And I thought, you've never even been there. You know, like you are so committed to the local public school that you won't even check out an option that could really, like, truly be better for your child. So I am purposely pressing buttons in that speech. I hope that I will get a lot of negative comments on YouTube because I purposely want to ruffle feathers.
Right.
Tell people like. And I recently found out in having a conversation with her name is Dr. Sally Raby. She's the CEO of this organization called Intellectus. I found out through talking to her, she does a lot of work in education in the Middle East, that it is easier to start a school in a developing nation because the government is not convinced that their school system works. And to me, that says a lot about the United States because we actually are convinced that this thing is working out.
Right.
And so I hope to shed light on that.
Right.
And, my first TED Talk, which I'm so passionate about this message. One of the things I really, really want to do is I want to empower teachers to teach with a higher level of cultural responsibility. And so it's called recognizing power. Recognizing privilege, power to all people. I talk about this concept called the culture of power. And in the United States, there is a culture of power. But the conversation around that, especially amongst people of color, especially Black people, is a conversation that says, this is the people that are in power. It makes you think that you can never, ever achieve success because there are people that are unfairly advantaged in the United States. And that's just not true. Like the truth is that everybody can make it here. I know it's not popular to say that right now,
right?
But everybody can make it in the United States. The truth is that education is powerful. The truth is that athletics are valuable. And if you're LeBron James, no, you shouldn't go to college. Yes, you should go to the NBA, right? Like if you are the next great musician, you should go play music, right? Like you should think. And I found I had all these students who couldn't navigate their talents and gifts because they were so overcome by the fact that the world was unfair. So I wrote that speech and did that TED Talk to send the message to students like, yes, you are powerful. And even though like, yes, stuff is not fair, stuff is not even or equal,
right?
You can claim power over your own identities. Like, for example, like I was born in the United States. I speak English. I like speaking English gives me an advantage over more than half of the world. Right. Being male gives me an advantage, right? Having a mom who went to college. But I could say, oh, I come from a disenfranchised group. Life is so much harder for me, right?
Got it.
That's what it's about.
I mean, those parallels, I think, with, we just had a PD today at the school that I work at, and it was great. I mean, I like to understand, your implicit biases and things. And, going in as a white male, I grew up in a rural town in Indiana, and when we moved to Chicago, I'm still learning, obviously, lens. But I think with that, and then putting that here with the educational realm that we're in right now, the big, I don't know what you want to call it, like a a huge transition or maybe a very slow transition. Those two things they're happening at the same time, and it's really interesting to be in education. So we'll put that link to your first TED Talk underneath the podcast here. Tell us about how people can find you, find Alpha, find Guide. Where are the places that we can find Mike Yates and the plethora of things that you're in right now?
Yeah, yeah. You can find me mostly on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of my time there, but I've got a website. It is yatesmike.com.
Mm-hmm.
I am also on Twitter at just Mike Yates, like JUST, just
Yep.
Mike. Alpha, our website is go-alpha.org. There's not much on that website
Mm-hmm.
by design, but you can go there. It'll tell you like the basics of the program. The best way to learn about Alpha is actually to connect with me on LinkedIn, because I post the things that I'm doing and learning and working on here all the time. And I'm basically the only one in the organization that does that.
I can second that. I watch you on LinkedIn all over the place. It's great.
Yeah. And for Guide, our website is guideapp.co.
Mm-hmm.
We are coming as fast and as furious as we can. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and learn more about that as well. But we will be, we're going to have like a short animated video coming out soon. A lot of content is coming with Guide, because this is the thing that we want people to know a ton about. We want people to use the platform. We want people to learn skills.
Absolutely. I will definitely be connecting with you on that. One last question. Millions and millions of kids, and I teach in the secondary level, 9 through 12 in traditional system. I don't want to call them stuck because I like to be optimistic, but what are some of the things that that you would tell a 16-year-old, here's what you can grab out of a system even though it's not perfect?
Right. I love that you said that they are not stuck. They are where they are. Mm-hmm. Right. And I love that. And I think one of the most unique things for me was the high school that I went to. I don't really know why I chose to go to the school, but my mom taught in the district, and at that time in Houston, if your parent worked in the district, you could go to any school. Yeah. There was this newish school that opened called Westside High School, and all I knew about the school was that they had a ton of stuff to do. The school had like an actual Outback Steakhouse restaurant attached to the school, and it was where they did a culinary program. I knew they had robotics labs. They had this giant black box theater, and I was just intrigued by the fact that there was a bunch of stuff to do, because I did not know what I wanted to do with my life, and I knew that school was boring. So I figured if I go there, I'll at least have stuff to do. Mm-hmm. And I also had so many bad experiences beforehand that I didn't trust teachers, and I didn't believe the things they told me. Mm-hmm. But when I look back on my school experience, more than college, that place was the place where I learned not that the system was not flawed, or that anything was right with school, but it was where I learned that I could be powerful and that I could win. And so my advice to any 16-year-old kid, like you're in a traditional school, is to seek out the adult in that building, because there is one that cares. Mm-hmm. And there is one that is going to go to the ends of the earth for you. If you cannot motivate yourself, which most people can't, find the person in the building that you believe is going to be in your corner. For me, I had a 10th grade homeroom teacher. His name was Mr. Martin. Mm-hmm. One day he looked at me and he was like, "You are 5'10". You are not going to the NBA. But you could be incredible as a debate and as a debater and as a public speaker." And I thought, nerds do speech and debate. But I traveled the world with that activity. Mm-hmm. That activity taught me to be my truest self. It taught me to be confident, and it taught me to be powerful. And I will never forget that guy. Mm-hmm. I also had a teacher at that school that taught me to dance salsa, which is how I met my wife. Right? Like I had teachers that cared for me, and I sought relationships with them. I went to their rooms. I asked them questions about life. Right? Like I helped start clubs and things like there. and I would not have had the same experience had I not gone to talk to those people.
Right.
So find the people that care about you.
I love that. That's great. I just had one of my mentees did a documentary, and I constantly ask him, so what can I do as a teacher? On the flip side of that, the student himself said exactly that. He said, just keep providing opportunities. They're not going to take them, but keep providing them. So I love that advice. Mike, I want to thank you so much for being here with us on Disrupt Education. We are going to watch Alpha. We're going to watch Guide. I will be connecting with you on that. I'll put all that information up below. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Awesome. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, keep questioning and keep disrupting education.